Hello, very beautiful community. The Trump administration continues to look for new ways to punish and bully its NATO allies. In the last day or so, Reuters has reported a leaked Pentagon email with a note by Elbridge Colby speculating about suspending Spain from NATO, for which there is no mechanism, punishing the UK as well for not supporting the Trump administration enough over his reckless war in the Middle East by taking away support for UK sovereignty over the Falkland Islands and withholding the access of quote-unquote difficult NATO countries from senior positions in the organization. This is very continuous with the what I've called the monarchist turn in Trump's domestic politics, the thought that there shouldn't really be any obstructions to one's action. And when there are obstructions, that's a case of the world having gone wrong. Something's happened here that's not right, right? So if somebody is obstructing you, you've got to be able to pay them off so that they go away, or you can destroy them, or somehow it doesn't add up because it shouldn't be happening. And so you just wait for the world to become less frustrating. So this is not just an ideology that's dominant in the Trump administration. It's an ideology is not some kind of set of conscious theoretical commitments. It's mostly an unconscious way of negotiating politics. And you know that at the heart of Trump's relationship with politics is the thought that it's just not clear why anybody should obstruct his action, especially institutions. But that also transports itself onto the foreign stage. Why am I not getting this kind of compliance? And then it's put on steroids by Trump's narcissistic personality deformation, because it's part of that he can't recognize that other humans are real. They're just magical concoctions on the stage Trump uses to regulate his emotional world. And the same applies to other countries. They're not quite real. And it's very strange that they seem to be getting in Trump's way. So I want to give us 5 takeaways about how we think about this, as well as pointing out that it's just for health reasons that I haven't done a much more comprehensive treatment on the main channel, which I'm really praying to do soon, because I think we need to start grounding a new psychology of practical political action for Europeans and European institutions about how you orient yourself in the world where you have basically got a de facto enemy that sits inside your house, that sits inside your alliance, right? It's not the case the United States is worse than Russia or China in the way it threatens Europe, but it effectively could be a worse threat because it's inside the house, right? The person who's trying to do something mean to you, who's inside your house, is more threatening than a person who is mean but less mean and outside. So the most important thing I want to say today is that when you're standing by the water and let's say you're in the South Pacific, where tsunamis can happen, and you see the water receding, you don't just say, oh, how interesting, it's now 3 meters further out than it was before. You try to see the pattern in what's happening and say, oh, this could be a tsunami situation. It doesn't have to be a very big one, but it could be a tsunami situation, right? And if you're at a dinner party and somebody has dropped their fork, dropped their plate, dropped their hat, and then slipped, you don't just say, oh, that happened, and then this happened, and then something else happened. You see a pattern, and the pattern is, well, that person is drunk. And so you've got to snap out of this imminent psychology where something happens and you react like that, and be able to put it along a line of developments which you can see from a greater degree of distance, so that you're not then astonished that it's raining, even though you've been looking at the sky and seeing black clouds. So I'll be talking more about that psychological shift that both European citizens and European leaders need to make in the main channel video soon. The second takeaway today is that it's time to stop making the distinction that too many people in European corridors of power are making, I'm afraid, about how you got to focus on what Trump does, not on what he says. Some people have used that distinction usefully by saying that we've got to be realistic about the fact that Trump's no longer our ally. But most of the time, that distinction is still being used unconstructively to imply that beneath the havoc, there is some kind of a plan that the Trump administration has. Might not be a very favorable plan toward other NATO allies, but it's not the worst, and it's working out what it is and what we can predict on the basis of having worked out what it is. That's where our attention should go, right? We shouldn't keep focusing on the sorts of things that Trump says, whereas I think that the sorts of things Trump says are actually of the essence of his administration and are actually of the essence of his politics. I do not think that there is a more benign politics beneath the post-truth rhetoric that just needs to be, blown off from atop a glass to reveal the slightly more stable liquid below. The third point I want to make today is that too many people are saying, well, look at Greenland. Greenland didn't happen, so it's not that bad. And the answer to that is, yes, it didn't happen, but also Greenland happened. Greenland happened. European powers, and especially Denmark, were planning for various military scenarios of military confrontation with the United States. It happened. The effects of that are psychologically irreversible and need to be politically integrated into how we think about the dynamics within a NATO that's led by the United States. The fourth takeaway is that it's not good enough to keep saying that there have been storms in the NATO alliance in its decades of existence in the past. This is just another storm. What this misses is the cause of the storm. The cause of the storm is democratic decline, and democratic decline in the context of the United States. The United States has very strong institutions, but a very toxic political culture. Unless that changes, US foreign policy will not start getting better. There is no way to make that change except by doing some things to mitigate it. And at the moment, nothing like that is happening. So you watch for domestic US politics to understand what's going to be happening on the foreign stage. And if you watch for that properly, you'll understand that it's no good to say that we've had problems before. And we've got some again, and we'll get over them like we got over the problems in the past. It's a bit like thinking about illness in terms of having experienced some past illnesses that you got over and applying that to the new illness. Well, whether it applies or not depends on the causes of the new illness, which could be permanent or degenerative. And the last thing I want to say today is kind of continuous with a couple of the points that have come before. But it is that there is no malign plan that Trump has. Right? Elbridge Colby might have a plan. Some people in the Trump administration might have a plan for the dismantling or the reconstitution of NATO, let's say. Trump doesn't have a plan. He doesn't do plans. Stop sane-washing this administration. It doesn't work like that. It's not the case either that Trump could develop a plan in the future. His personality disorder is incompatible with that. He can't. He invaded, attacked the Middle East in an act of psychological self-regulation. That's the main cause. He'll do other things out of the need for self-regulation. That's the central mechanism of causation of US foreign policy. It's not a plan, malign, benign, or in the middle. And it's a distraction to talk about the plan beneath. Trump is constitutively incapable of carrying out a plan. He has too many imminent, undeclinable, episodic, impulsive, emotional needs. I'll deal with all of this more deeply soon. Beautiful community. Lots of love and catch you later.